everyone, and welcome back to Cinema Scrutiny. This week, we have a couple different things for you, but of course, we have to give you the hottest review that you could find on the internet for Disney Plus's WandaVision. I'm your host, Billy, of course, with my co-host, as always, John.
How you doing, Bill?
Good, good. I'm pretty happy. I was enjoying the show very much so throughout the run, and you know, it's not a perfect piece, I will say. However, I will say I was satisfied overall.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think there's a lot in here for Marvel fans, non-Marvel fans, TV fans, I guess. There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you're a TV fan, it's something definitely to admire and enjoy. But that being said, I think something that happened with the show is the fan speculation and theories ran a bit too far out of control, which may or may not have subverted people's expectations on some things that were going to happen. Um, but I don't know. I think. Well, we talked about the first two episodes when they first came out.
Mm.
We did a bit of a pilot review, even though it was just the first two episodes. But I think we both agreed it started out a bit slow, with those first two episodes being so far back in like TV timeline, I guess, if you want to call it that. But I think we can agree that once we started getting connections to like the modern day, what was really going on, the show really came together for, or it really picked up, I should say,
Yeah,
as far as like the overall like getting hooked in.
yeah, I agree. I think especially it felt like a negative at the time, but I think if you were to go back and just binge watch the show today, I think it probably actually wouldn't be a problem. Just because those
Yeah,
episodes pick up, they're both short. There's some of the shorter episodes, and every episode like out of the nine, I think they're all like 30 to 40 minutes. But it's very easy in your mind, I think, going back to lump those two episodes together as like its own thing, and then it kind of dives in a bit more. I guess it feels quicker when you're watching it back as like a binge event, whereas I think us streaming it in real time was a bit more of a negative.
right.
Um, But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed it. I think that for me, those first two episodes, by the end of episode two, I was a little worried that it just was not coming together. But it did manage to pull me up a little bit. Like I think after episode three, I was fully engaged.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. I think the rewatch value is way more digestible. Um, the weekly release schedule that they went for the approach with here, but they're doing with all the Marvel shows, it seems. Uh, I think for this show, I don't want to say it backfired because it definitely kept the talk going.
Mm.
That aspect was definitely not lacking whatsoever. I felt like every week the show was trending, no problem. Um, but I think the episodes were so short, in keeping with their theme, which I understand. I think it fit the theme well. And like watching it back, you could watch the whole series in like about 3 hours, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's 4:10 around there.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a double feature in a way,
Mm.
if you want to call it a movie. But um, I think I think the short episode times definitely it was frustrating to me as the weeks went on. Because you want to try to soak up as much information as you can each week and keep getting to the bottom of the mystery of what's happening,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
it just keeps cutting out. And it's like, no, we need more. Like this
Yeah,
needs so much more.
when the credits start, it says "Please stand by," and that is like one of the most like detrimental lines. Like every time I saw it, I was like, "Ah, fuck! Like fuck you guys! Like why are you ending the show?"
Yeah,
It's like, and it always, the show does like a really big kind of like tease for every episode. So like you're always on the edge of your seat. Like the editing for that is crazy. Which granted, again, when you're binging it back, doesn't really matter. But it's definitely instrumental to those weekly releases. Like, and again, we can talk about it a little bit when we get to the more spoiler heavy section.
Yeah.
but Twitter really did. Like, Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, everyone was going wild with speculation. And some of it was right, but some of it we just went way too deep because we had so much time on our hands.
I feel like in a way, like the speculation, the theory talk, it seemed like a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, every time a Marvel movie comes out, I feel like that's what's going on for the next month with the Marvel fans. They just start speculating what's going to happen next in the timeline, what's going to be the next big event.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, Marvel fans are hungry people.
they are. We're fiends, but there's good reason behind it. They're
Mm-hmm.
trying to decipher the whole, especially this too. I mean, it's kind of a mystery in a way. This show,
Mm-hmm.
uh, in its theme, because you're at least in the first half.
Yeah, it's got like
Once,
a thriller
you,
element to it.
yeah, it's definitely like a thriller type of mystery, and at the same time, it's like a fantasy. Uh, sci-fi fantasy, of course. But I think that they worked off that really well in the first half. However, towards the back end, it felt like once we got to the last episode, before I even watched the finale, I was thinking to myself like, all right, we got a lot to wrap up here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to dive into. And to be fair, I think the show ended satisfying enough to where I was like, yeah, this is I think they said everything they needed to say. But I also think that there were some lacking pieces here and there, with certain like side characters kind of got derailed a little bit. Some of them just kind of fell off the face of the map a bit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but overall, I mean, like the show is about Wanda, of course, and Vision, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that it wraps up. It tells their story and wraps it up very well in the long run.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that it's definitely a WandaVision show.
Yeah,
And it does a great
that's
job
so
of, I
weird.
think. Yeah, but I'm actually really, this is something that I think the MCU definitely. I'm very happy that they're doing this and the Falcon and Winter Soldier because I feel
Yeah,
like the Hawkeye show, like really all of these shows are the MCU characters who are mainstays. They're super popular with everybody, but they've never gotten their own kind of standalone content. So it's really great to see these like chances, and same with obviously Wanda and Vision. It's great to see
right.
them come into their own and like get their own dedicated content. That while it's not necessarily a full film, if we broke it down, it's almost possible that the budget is the same minute per minute of content.
For like a feature.
Yeah, compared to like one of the Marvel films. Because I don't remember how much an average Marvel film costs, but WandaVision was like 250 million,
Right.
which comes out to almost like 20 million an episode. 20 might even be 30 because it's 9 episodes.
Yeah, it shows
Um,
too. I think it definitely shows in like the final product.
yeah, I agree
Uh,
100%.
it the show is extremely special effects heavy. Whether you notice it or not. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there are points, especially in the second half, you'll notice super special effects heavy. But in the first half, I'm sure they have plenty that we don't even see.
Yeah, I mean, it was really even cool. They do some more practical effects as well, which were really interesting.
Yeah.
But in the interest of keeping the non-spoiler section a little bit shorter, if you had to give a recommendation for somebody, they're watching this right now, they haven't seen it, they're just looking to hear whether or not it's good. Are you telling
Yeah.
them to go watch immediately? Are you telling them it's on their radar? Put it on the list?
I'm gonna say if you're a big Marvel fan, then first of all, I'm sure you probably already see the show. Um, I know one of our friends. We just talked to him yesterday, and he said he binged the whole thing, and he really enjoyed it. So I think it's a really digestible thing if you just want to like get it done in one shot. You could finish this in a day if you wanted to. You could
Yeah.
finish this over the course of a weekend if you wanted to spread it out a little bit more. It's an easy thing to take in. Now, in the overarching scheme of the Marvel universe, like, do you need to see this? Is this going to be like integral to like the future plots of the movies and stuff? I would say it's probably important. Like there's probably some important things said in here and done in here that if you didn't watch this and you saw uh you know Doctor Strange 2 coming up, maybe you might see something in there that you might be a little bit confused. Who knows? I don't actually know, but
Yeah.
I recommend it. I think, if I had to give it out of 10, I'd say it's like an 8 or a 9. It kind of waves in that area. 8.5. I'll give it 8, like an 8.5. About.
Yeah, that's I'm feeling like a strong 8.
Yeah.
I personally don't like to get into the nitty gritty with the halves,
Yeah,
but
and I understand that.
yeah, I think it genuinely does try to be something different than the normal for Marvel, and I think that it's worth taking a look at. Or maybe if you're Marvel fatigued, I think this might be worth taking a look into. But I would definitely, yeah. Honestly, I can't not recommend watching it immediately either. Like it's so short in terms of like bingeability.
Yeah.
So I would just knock it out. I don't know if it's going to be integral to the plot, like you were saying. I believe Kevin Feige said that if anything, like you wouldn't have to watch the shows to understand the movies, which doesn't necessarily mean it's not integral. Because I agree, there are things that happen in this that definitely are going to be reflective in later films. If you haven't seen it, you like it, watch it. And
Yeah.
then just watch it and then come back, listen to the spoiler section that we're about to get into right now, and hopefully you can share some of our reactions. Maybe you have some similar feelings, maybe you disagree, and we can then discuss in the comments section.
So let's talk about some of the good stuff, because I feel like I've hit some of like the general things that like I didn't like as much,
Sure.
and I'll dive more into that stuff in a little bit. But I think I want to start on the high note, because there's a lot of high notes, and there's a lot of good surprises tucked in and out throughout this whole thing. Um, I said it in the pilot review, but the whole like TV show theme with each episode
Yeah.
leading up until the finale, um, and even like there was also an episode that was like a catch-up episode, like outside the bubble or outside the hex.
Yeah, it's like episode
Uh,
4.
yeah, there was like a catch-up episode, but everything else that was like all the themed episodes that they did, like the Modern Family theme, the Malcolm in the Middle theme, uh, I think
Oh,
there
the
was like a
theme
Reba
songs were
theme.
great.
The theme songs were great. Like the amount of detail from the set decoration to the production design, um, the
The
writing,
commercials.
the commercials with the teasers, like leading in, like tying into all of like the whole like overarching story. It was crazy. Like they really outdid themselves in that aspect, and I think that overarching, like that kind of like theme and that kind of like uh twist of like it's the spice, it's like the
Yeah,
spice of the show. It's like that little seasoning on top that's like, oh, this is good stuff, like
it's the
this is so cool.
meta film major reasoning.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I really enjoyed like seeing that every week. Like the Malcolm in the Middle episode, I think, is my favorite, just because I really didn't expect that to
Malcolm in the
even
Middle to get a shout
show
out.
up. Yeah, like I didn't expect them to like build off that at all. And like I used to watch that show when I was a kid, so I was like, holy shit, this is cool as fuck. Like
Yeah,
that's like my sitcom as a kid.
it's a great one.
Uh,
That
seeing
breakdown scene where Wanda and Vision have their fight, I think at the end of like episode 6 probably. And Wanda tries to roll the credits, and Vision like kicks through the fourth wall, so to speak, and like starts talking over the credits. And Paul Bettany really fucking gives everything in this TV show.
yeah,
Just
he
throwing
does.
it down, and when he is yelling, and he's like, "I don't even know who I am." Like, what? It's like, what the fuck is happening?
Right. They
Oh,
actually
good
like
shit.
they both like, yeah, and I know we were saying earlier like the social media chatter got like kind of like a little out of control at times, but
Mhm.
one thing I definitely agreed with was the acting out of Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen throughout the entire show was really, really incredible stuff. Like they were doing stuff that like you don't see any other like Marvel actor doing in like a Marvel movie. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I
Like
agree.
there were certain moments in the show that like it just they were hitting. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
it was perfect acting opportunities for both of them. I mean the whole situation with Wanda when she kicked Monica out of the hex for the first time. When she slipped and mentioned
Yep.
Pietro. Like and seeing her like actually like break out of like the mold and stuff and like the fourth wall, it was like, oh shit, this is about to get crazy. And the aspect ratio changes too when that happens. Like
Yeah.
when it went back to like the 16:9, I was like,
Yeah,
oh
great
shit.
editing.
It was so cool. Like little tiny little details like that. Like it's just the spice. The spice.
Yeah. So I guess let's take what you were saying there about her kicking Monica through the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of these characters.
Mhm.
So obviously, Monica Rambeau is one of the new characters that is kind of becoming her own beeline superhero, like WandaVision used to be before they got
Right.
their own content.
Sure.
Monica Rambeau is confirmed to show up in Captain Marvel 2. She obviously,
Right.
after seeing the show, she has photon. She got the powers. When her eyes pop, like when she gets the contact lenses, I assume put in,
Sure.
she's looking great. Like it just like those, like her eyes just pop so brilliantly.
Yeah.
And like
her powers are really fantastic.
yeah,
I
that
think.
plus like the light blue sword like mesh suit. It's like, oh, that's a fucking sick ass look.
Yeah, and I noticed. I don't know if you noticed, but Wanda's powers are red, and like Agatha's are purple, and like they both kind of like are factors as to like how the hex is like forming around the town. So like seeing how like Monica gets the powers by like forcing herself through the hex, getting to get back in, and the how she gets like the mixture of both those colors, like her eyes turn blue, and she sees like it's like a mixture of both colors. It's like seeing like the wavelengths of the energy, and like that's her powers, obviously. But
Yeah.
it's so cool, like how they did it, but yeah, she looks fantastic. I'm actually more excited now for Captain Marvel 2, knowing that she's going to be in there
Agreed.
as a supporting character,
Really
because I
slam
think
dunk. Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm really excited to see her going forward in Captain Marvel 2 and anything else that comes up for Monica Rambeau. Before we get into some more of like the main character, like, the core characters,
right.
I think we should probably talk about the surprise sleeper hits, Jimmy
Oh, yeah.
Woo
Oh my god.
and Darcy.
Yes. Now, I cannot express the insane, like, viral boost that Jimmy Woo got off of this show. It is
Facts.
insane. I love it. I loved all the memes. I loved the whole viral thing that Jimmy Woo got. Darcy, I think, was really cool when she first showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they really did her dirty on the way out.
They did.
Like,
They definitely
in the
did.
in the last episode, apparently there was like a whole like side arc of her doing something in that episode, and they cut it for time's sake.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that, just because you have a lot of notes to hit in that episode, but at the same time, it felt she came in so strong, and she was carrying heavy in like her field as like the scientist, and I felt like in the last episode to get kind of sidelined a bit, just as like a ram the bad guy and stop him from leaving. It's like all right,
it was
I guess.
tough. She really only does have that one. I think she has that one scene, and she literally says, "You're going to jail," and that's it.
Yeah, it was rough.
And then even
honestly.
at the end, like they're talking, and it's like, "Hey, what's up?" And she's like, "Oh, Darcy. She just kind of left." It's like,
Right.
Huh?
Yeah. Another side character that I really liked, who a lot of people I feel like don't talk about that much. He had a good presence on screen and off screen through like the viral, like the talk online. Norm from Vision's office job, dude.
Yeah.
He was so funny in the show, right? Like he had like such like funny little quip moments, and he wasn't like a crazy huge character. Like he didn't affect the storyline at all. He was kind of just a side character.
Yeah.
And he kind of is the reason Vision kind of snapped out of things, or he figured things out. So he was like a catalyst kind of character like that. But I don't know if you saw any of the videos. He was making TikToks online.
Yeah, I've seen some
about.
of them.
Oh my god, dude! It was so funny. They're like, he was like, "Oh, you guys want to know about like WandaVision spoilers?" He's like, well, I can't tell you. Like, I'm a working actor. I need money. Like,
Yeah,
it was great. Like, yeah. So I think that little like online like presence that he was pushing out there to promote the show at the same time. I hope he gets
Mhm.
more work, honestly, off of it, because like I know it was just a joke, but like he was funny, dude. He was good.
Yeah, no, I agree. His name is Asif Ali. If anybody wants to look him up,
Right.
it should honestly come up pretty quick. Like I'm literally reading a Screen Rant article right now about his TikToks. They
Yeah.
are actually very funny. They're very well edited,
Yeah.
and
He was great.
it's good stuff. Yeah, I agree with that a lot. I think that going back to Jimmy Woo and Darcy, I do think that for the longest time now they've been getting petitioned to do their own like Twilight Zone style MCU show.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's a brilliant idea.
It'd be pretty sick.
I think it's probably so easy too. Like I feel like you could do a really low budget on that one and just kind of toss it over
Yeah.
and have the two of them be like the main characters and just go for it. And it's like a Twilight Zone, but like a funny Twilight Zone probably.
Yeah. Or like
Uh,
a reformed Agents of Shield type of thing.
yeah, yeah, I agree. But even I guess going back even more to Jimmy, like he really the arc that he has over the Marvel universe, right? It is very much it became very meme, like it's
Yeah.
like super all over the place.
Hmm.
But it's I think it's just one of the small, it's the smallest detail ever, but it is so evident of one how close attention that the creators of the MCU are paying to all of their characters and
Yep.
everything that they do, and also that the fans are paying attention like that. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like for it was Ant-Man 2, like that was at least like 4 or 5 years ago now. And for Jimmy Wood just to come up and do something that is literally an offhand comment that's played off for comedy in Ant-Man
Yep.
2 that never comes back around.
Yeah.
Just for him to pull that out and for people to notice that, and for like this is why Marvel is king of connected universes right now in cinema.
Exactly. And not even that. Like, yes, great connection. You get to the end of the show, and at that time in the show when that happened, the mystery's still kind of unfolding of like what's happening with Wanda and whatnot. And we come to find out that the whole show is about magic.
Yeah.
I mean, what a nice little tiny little foreshadow right there about just like Jimmy Woo doing a magic trick, and like that's his magic trick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess going on to other side characters, or sort of side characters. I guess we could talk about Hayward a little bit. I thought Hayward was pretty good when he first showed up, and I think just like Darcy, he kind of he went out on a stale note for me. I was like, they did too much with Hayward. Like,
Yeah, I think he over time just became kind of useless.
in a way, yeah. Like I understood like what he was doing, and like I think it was really like, you know what it was like. I was okay with Hayward up until the finale episode,
Mm.
and like the whole moment where like he pulled the gun out to like shoot the kids, like that for me was like his character like jumped the shark. Like he was way
Oh,
too much.
100%
It was like what, like this guy has never shown any reason
to shoot
for
children.
anybody to think that he would shoot a kid. And like even though like he was a dick, like the whole like framing Wanda for stealing the Vision's body and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like he was obviously like a dick character, and like he was a good villain in that aspect. But like they had no reason for him to just like pull a gun out and like, I'm gonna fucking cap these kids. It's
Yeah,
like, bro.
honestly, I think that Hayward is the worst character in the entire show.
I disagree. I think there is worse.
I think he
But
definitely is. Because
I think he's up there, but I think there is a worse scenario with a certain character.
okay, so I mean, I guess give me your character first, and then I will explain why I think Hayward is worse.
Uh, Evan Peters,
Okay.
fake Quicksilver thing.
Fake Quicksilver. I understand why you could consider that being, but I don't think that's on him.
No,
Okay,
it's
you know
not
what I
his
mean?
fault.
Like I
Like,
genuinely,
and
because that's just like a casting thing, and like I don't think that's like a writing thing. If that makes sense.
yeah,
Like, because I think that at least there's something interesting there, and we'll go into it right after this.
yes,
But for me, Hayward is just a terrible reused waste of time for everyone. Like, I get it. Like he starts off with an interesting kind of story, right? He has an interesting angle. he's been running Sword ever since the snap. It's been absolute hell. You know,
Yeah.
like the entire world is basically in chaos trying to figure out how it's going to run itself with just half the people on it. And so like he has this like intense paranoid PTSD mindset about how he runs Sword.
Right.
And like that's like a cool angle. But instead of like leaning into that and being like, he has to make the tough calls and he's so like, he's paranoid. I feel like it comes off more in the end like he's trying to do like a rip-off Captain America 2 Winter Soldier.
Right.
Where it's just like, oh, it's actually a bad guy running Sword.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
It's
like,
just like another like dick government agent guy.
Yeah, and like we already did that and it was really good in Winter Soldier, but I don't need us to do it again in the exact same way.
Sure.
And that's kind of how it felt. Like I feel like if maybe he tried to do something like when he tries to kill Wanda, and he's like, listen, like she's just straight up a threat right now. Because he's right. Like at the end of the day, Wanda needs to fucking stand trial for war crimes.
Yeah, sure.
Like
Listen,
she's committed
I'm with you on that.
some big shit, but instead, my man just goes crazy and like starts trying to shoot kids for no reason. Like it's just such a wasted, it's just so terrible. Like I just think the writing is really bad on his motivations towards the end.
Yeah.
Like it becomes, like all of a sudden it's about him lying about covering up Vision's actual stolen body wasn't stolen because he just wants more vibranium. Like,
yeah, he wants a new weapon to use.
yeah,
and it's like,
okay.
it's just like totally that like his weight that he came in with as like this guy of like I took over Sword because Monica was gone with the snap, but now she's back. Like that was way more interesting.
Yeah.
And that whole support beam that was holding that up was totally gone by the end. And it was like that never came back around. And it was like, okay, like I mean, I guess you could say maybe it was because Monica jumped in front of the kids, but that doesn't, there was a lot cooler things going on with Hayward in the beginning when he first showed up. However,
yeah, let's talk about Mr. Boner.
What they did to Evan Peters here is so stupid. And I just read this before we got on here that the director for the show, he was saying like, yeah, I got the Ralph Boner idea from my favorite MCU moment, which was the Mandarin twist. I was the Mandalorian, yeah, the Mandarin twist from Iron Man 3, which a widely hated thing that happened in the MCU.
It's a terrible thing.
There's some people that like it. There's some people that like that movie overall, which is like it's fine, I don't like that twist. I didn't like this twist. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it was a terrible twist. I mean, you know what that sounds like? That has big Rian Johnson Star Wars energy on it.
Dude, it was like it's not even like the whole like. I just don't understand why like Marvel knows that like the whole multiverse thing is people are hyped up about that, and people have been and the Fox acquisition, like everyone knows that like the Fox characters can somehow get looped in, especially because Deadpool 3 is still happening, and all these things people are talking about behind the scenes and speculating online. Why would you go and take this character who Evan Peters Quicksilver is probably the most popular character in the latest trilogy of X-Men films. I think that's arguably decent point to make. I did like out of all the X-Men, like the younger X-Men that they had before the Fox world ended, Quicksilver was like a probably fan favorite, top tier, And when he first showed up in the show, it was a huge moment. It was sick. I was hyped. You were hyped. Like, what a great moment. What a great way to crack the multiverse open with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that'd have been great. And they totally dropped the ball on it. They're like, he's just a guy who was brainwashed by Agatha. And it's like, that is such a waste. And like, it would have, like, after seeing the show, my first, like, when the Evan Peters thing was over, like that whole storyline was over, I was like, they should have just brought back Aaron Taylor Johnson. That would have been so much cooler. Like, if Evan Peters just came back to be the end of a joke, then it's like, Aaron Taylor Johnson would have been so much cooler to come back, and it would have been way more, had way more weight to it.
Maybe. I mean, I think there's a couple of reasons that they did this. Like, at first I was angry as well, but now I think that this is actually the best way you could do it. One, I genuinely don't think Aaron Taylor Johnson wanted to come back.
Probably not.
Like, the reason they killed off Quicksilver in the first place is because he really wasn't feeling the whole multi-film thing.
Yeah.
I do, and aside from that, I do think that the reveal of who Ralph is was very cool. Like, I think to find out that, Quicksilver, or fake, Pietro.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool that he was Ralph. And that, like, Agatha's been hyping up Ralph this whole time. And I thought that was, like, a cool connection for people that are paying attention to it. Sure. But, as excited as I was at the idea of, like, oh, like, he's the actual Quicksilver, he's from the X-Men, I completely understand now why they didn't. Why did they bring him in? There's the first question. My answer is because, one, we're doing the multiverse. We are, genuinely. Yeah. But if we're going to do it, we can't just drop it on people because no one's going to understand that. Like, a lot of people wouldn't get it. So you kind of got to test the waters a little bit. You drop in fake Pietro, and people are like, oh, it's possible. And, like, people are talking about it, and they're explaining it to their friends. But then it didn't actually happen. But then, Spider-Man comes out, Doctor Strange comes out, it 100% happens. Sure. And now we've cracked it open, but now you're ready. You've been thinking about it. Yeah. Like, you understand that it's possible. You understand
they give it the
more
piece,
of the concept.
so it's like now people are kind of like waiting to see like when it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, like they're putting their toes in the water first. So now, like, you understand that it's possible. Two, and this is like a bigger one for me, I think, which I didn't, again, not thinking about it in the moment. In the moment, it's very much like, holy fuck, that's the coolest thing ever. What does this mean? Yeah. But seeing it in hindsight and knowing that he's not in it, or he's not actually Quicksilver, if we're being honest, if you're going to introduce the X-Men into your movies, and you know for a fact that as beloved as Evan Peters' Quicksilver is, right? Like, I think a lot of people like him. Yeah. Those movies are terrible. People hate them so much. Yeah. Like, down to, I would say, like, half of the actors, people are like, this is fucking terrible. And, like, you're going to I know for a fact you are going to recast everyone. Like, as much as I would love to see James McAvoy come back, or even, Michael Fassbender. I like both of those characters. I like both of their Magneto /
They're the best people in those movies, for sure.
Yeah, but they're not getting recast 100%. I'm just feeling it, No,
I agree. Like,
and I think
totally agree.
If you try to drag that connection hard enough, you know what I mean? Like, because if you bring in Quicksilver, but you recast everyone else. Yeah. One, do we spend 5 minutes in all those future movies being like, Quicksilver being like, oh, you remind me of this person, but you look like this, blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't want to hear that. I really don't.
That's fair. Like,
it's something that is, just personal to me, I guess, because, like, I feel like you would waste a lot of time having to explain that vibe. But two, I just feel like the X-Men really do need a fresh start. And I feel like if you're going to control the X-Men story so closely now, because you're going to have to reboot it hard. Yeah. And it's going to take a long time to get the X-Men right because it's like a big ensemble piece. Yeah. I just don't know. I don't know if Quicksilver would have been a good choice to keep crossed over. Not to say that, it won't happen. Like, I could still totally see a multiverse jump through Doctor Strange 2 where they do end up in the X-Men universe. And, Quicksilver, Ralph is there. And she goes, Ralph? And he's like, what the hell is a Ralph? Like, like, I'm Pietro, or like whatever he goes by in the X-Men films.
Yeah. I don't know. I think just like the ending, it was a little stale for me, but your explanation makes me feel better about it for sure. Hitting some other characters here. I guess we should talk about Agatha. Yeah. She is the main villain after all. Or anti-hero, if you want to call her that.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's
I
actually an
think,
interesting point to bring up.
Agatha, I kind of always suspected from the beginning she was up to something.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, there was speculation of other people in the town, like who they were,
Mm.
and what kind of role they played, and turned out that nobody in the town was really important other than Agatha. Other than they were just regular civilians being, you know, unfortunately tortured by Wanda unknowingly. But Agatha to me was a really cool reveal. Like when she finally came through, you got to see her house. That the house was really fitting with the old wood. It definitely felt like a witch's kind of house.
Yeah, a lot
Uh,
of like darker colors.
yeah, and like the whole scene where she went into the basement to find the kids, and then it turned into the Doctor Strange looking lair type of thing. I was like, oh,
Mm.
this is it. This is it right here. Like, and of course the episode ends like right when that happens. But uh, yeah, I think she turned out to be a really cool uh anti-hero to Wanda because she was a villain, but she also was kind of looking out for everyone else's best interests because she knew Wanda is more dangerous than what she realizes.
Yeah, Agatha's
Um,
got a really weird like angle to her where there's not really like she's not necessarily the villain of the show, right? Like she's not causing any of the problems. Wanda is. Wanda's
yeah,
the villain.
sure.
Or Wanda's grief is the villain.
Hmm.
But, Agatha is literally there to do two things. One, she is a bad person. Like she's not, she's there for her own selfish reasons. She wants to gain the power that Wanda has because there's like she felt such strong magic that she's like, I have to see what is causing this.
Right.
And
Definitely.
then when she finds out that she's the Scarlet Witch, she's like, I got to stop you because you're going to destroy the planet.
Right.
And not, one, obviously, Agatha also wants to stop her to gain the power, like to gain her powers.
Hmm.
But she does genuinely believe that the Scarlet Witch is destined to destroy the Earth,
Yeah.
which is really interesting. And she even takes it off. Like this show does a really great job of portraying Wanda as the hero the entire time.
Mhm.
But there are many scenes, like especially at the end when Agatha like unsnaps Dottie, so like her
Yeah.
mind is free. And Wanda's like, "Why are you making her do this?" And she's like, "I literally freed her from your control, you sicko."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I do agree that it's very interesting to see that Agatha has kind of like a more normal stance. And I do actually believe that again, you're more right with like the anti-hero or just like neutral being kind of line is
Yeah.
because she's been living for the past like 300 years relatively under the radar.
Right.
Like she's not trying to be some crazy megalomaniac compared to everyone else. I think she's just kind of more like maybe like one step away from Caecilius in Doctor Strange 2. Like she just
Yeah.
wants more power, but it doesn't seem like she's on an active crazy ass
Right.
rampage.
She's not actively like harming other people or like a mass amount of people. Like she's looking for the source and taking from that source, and that's it.
Yeah.
So she has her own like personal like you know journey that she's on. But yeah, it kind of it's pretty crazy because she is an anti-hero, but the whole show like kind of reveals Wanda as like her truly being an anti-hero because she always kind of has been in the Marvel universe in a certain way. She started out as a villain in Age of Ultron, and then she became the hero, which is just like the comics. That's how Wanda and Quicksilver showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Wanda's had these like horrible accidents that have happened to her, you know, uh, and she's always had this problem with her powers. And now seeing her powers fully realized, she's kind of overtaken by them in a certain aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And to see like Agatha kind of understand everything and kind of be the audience's like guide with that, it was really cool. Like they really delved deep into like the magic aspect of the world. Doctor Strange used to be just that guy, and now we have Salem witches. We got a full like Salem witch scene.
Yeah.
That was cool with when that happened.
Was
I was
super
in
cool.
all of that. Um, and I think overall, I was really happy with Agatha's like overall thing, and probably my favorite part about Agatha and what they did with her was the way they ended her story here with Wanda kind of trapping her.
Inside her
Like,
own head.
yeah, it's like I'm gonna release everyone else, but I'm keeping you here because you decided to mess with me and take me out of my way. So if I do get out of control and I need help, then I'll come and find you. And it's like that's perfect amount of crazy that I want from Wanda right now. Like it's like that's sick. Like
Yeah.
so messed up and so crazy. Like but so fitting for this Scarlet Witch that she's like fully formed into. And like what something else I thought was kind of interesting too. Like when the show ended, the finale ended, I was thinking about Wanda, where she is now, like personally, like as a Scarlet Witch, she's kind of like on this path now, uh, trying to figure herself out and learn her powers more.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got this whole prophecy of like she's going to destroy the world or like seemingly rip open the multiverse. I got a big Dark Phoenix kind of vibe off of it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I agree. The Scarlet Witch feels kind of like the Phoenix Force.
Yeah, it felt kind of borrowed in a certain way, but in the same aspect, I'm kind of okay with that because they've done the Phoenix Force plenty of times over in the Fox movies.
Yep.
That I can't imagine that Marvel's going to go down that route when they bring the mutants back. You know, because they're kind of already doing it right here. But I'm okay with that because it's in a different way, and I care way more about Wanda than I ever did about any of the live action Jean Greys that were, getting crazy off the Phoenix Force. But I think, I mean, like, seeing Wanda, oh my god, like, just the costume alone, like, the costume's crazy. Yeah. She's got probably one of the best costumes in the universe right now.
It probably feels the most comic accurate, or like the most comic inspired. Like it feels the closest to being an actual comic book outfit. Right. I feel like some of the earlier designs were trying to bring too much of the live action reality to it.
I mean, a lot of the Marvel like costumes kind of share a similar theme. It looks like they all kind of went to the same costume designer for sure. And I guess like they used to kind of have a kickstand of like Tony gives everyone their outfits, which is fair. It's a fair cop out, but they've slowly started to reel that back. Doctor Strange had a very comics accurate costume, which was really refreshing when he came out, and now Wanda's got this rebrand here, and it's like, this is nice. Like this is what I want to see more of. Like I want more like diverse looking characters, not just everyone looking like the same material.
Yeah, 100% agree. Well, unless you have anything else to say, Bill, I think we can probably jump into the wrap up.
The only other thing I have to say is I enjoyed Vision's send off. Even though it's not really a send off, he kind of got he got a new ship, if you want to call it that.
We got White Vision.
We got White Vision. He's dripping. Looks great. And the whole like the final scene they shared together, where she told him who he is in the hex and stuff. It was great. Felt great. Loved it. Perfect ending for the show because like it's kind of about their relationship at the same time, overall just really good stuff all around. I was really happy.
I was a big fan of that Ship of Theseus moment for Vision and White Vision. Just because I thought that was it was a great way to have them solve their differences. And it was
a Vision way of solving the problem.
It makes me wish that instead of the laser fighting that they did at the beginning, that it was almost entirely just that. Like more of that, like more logic puzzles, like kind of akin to Bilbo Baggins and Gollum.
Smaug?
No, because I don't think him and Smaug have any like conversations like that, but him and Gollum have like the riddle battle on the lake and the caves. And like I think that battle of wits would be much more interesting between the two Visions.
Definitely.
It also kind of reminds me of Vision's conversation with Ultron at the end of Age of Ultron. Like I thought that was just a really like wise and like beautiful moment between two androids or synthezoids.
Right.
That I just liked a lot. Like I feel like Vision is wise. He's got a lot to say. He dropped some good gems.
He's such a cool character, like very underrated in a lot of ways. Like I saw something about he was it was like a moment from Civil War that Vision was like reflecting on himself
Mm-hmm.
and like the whole, the Accords and everything. And I think the Avengers were split up at the time, and he's like at the compound, and he's like sitting at this table with like a chessboard in front of him, and he's got the rook in his hand, and the rook is like the only chess piece that's like a non-living creature on the board,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like fiddling with this rook in his hand while like contemplating the situation. It's like he's like gripping with his own reality. Like he's such a cool character, dude. Like in every way,
Yeah.
But yeah, great show. Good stuff all around.
Yeah.
Very happy.
I agree. Solid 8 out of 10 for me.
Yeah,
And I think
I'd
it has
borderline say 9.
Yeah.
Borderline, but yeah, definitely hyped for the rest of everything that's coming next. Just gotta wait for Marvel to get the backlog stuff out, the movies that have been sitting in the vault.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we've been talking about this obviously, but Falcon and Winter Soldier starts next week.
Yeah.
We will probably have a review of episode 1 up. We'll do the same thing. We'll do like a pilot kind of check in, and then we'll check back in at the end of the show, which I believe is a shorter run this time. I believe only 6 episodes instead of 9.
Right.
So we will see you guys then. But in the meantime, obviously check out the rest of our content between now and then. And we're just gonna pass some of the questions off to you guys. I think. What did you think of WandaVision? You've obviously made it through all these spoiler discussions. Do you agree, disagree with what we've been talking about? Where would you like to see Wanda going forward? Where do you want to see Vision show back up? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a great show, and there's like a lot to unpack. And I think we're going to be unpacking it for a while.
Definitely. It's definitely something you could revisit a bunch. So
Yeah, I agree.
If people catch some little things, especially in the future. But yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm going to binge it now that it's finally over, just to see if I can get the full essence of it, basically like in
Full
a day.
effect. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
But yeah, that's been Cinema Scrutiny's WandaVision review. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, tell your friends if you like the video. If they haven't seen it, like we said earlier, tell them to go watch it, then tell them to watch this video. And, keep your eyes peeled for more content. And we will catch you guys later.
Yep. See you guys later.